Hello, welcome back to Uncle Matt's Cookery Lessons. There's a recipe for really simple flatbread. That's what they look like when they're done. I think you're going to like this one, nice and easy. So this is a bread, so like breads, you've got the traditional standard ingredients. We've got strong flour, we've got yeast, etc., salt. The process is very, very similar. It's just the actual cooking is so much easier. What I'm doing there is approximately, don't get worried about getting that exact, about half of the flour, all of the yeast. I put the seeds in there, the seeds are optional, and the water. The salt's going to go in a bit later, as well as the olive oil. We're going to mix this to what I've heard called a sponge. I've also heard it called a poolish. Basically, we're going to make a very wet, sticky dough, and then we're going to leave that for a little while just to sort of mature, to prove a tiny bit. Only needs to mix that for about a minute, by the way. There you go. So that's a little bit later on. You can see it's sort of swelled up a bit. We know the yeast is active. That's good. So in with the oil and the salt. So I like this technique. I've used this a few times lately. This is why I only put in about half of the flour, or not all of the flour. You can really heavily flour your work surface because that flour is needed for this dough. Whereas often if you mix in all of the flour in the beginning, you're still going to need extra flour while you're kneading it, and so then you end up with a more floury bread than you wanted. So I do like this method. I'm going to stick with it. This whole process I was kneading for somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes. It is a bit laborious, so I'll speed this up. I'll cut through it a bit, but basically just keep going. Keep folding it over, pushing it back out, rolling it in, and as you can see as I go along, the flour's disappearing. So then before it starts sticking again to the board, add more flour, like I just did. And just keep going. But you do a workout. This is good for your shoulders. Get in there. I build up a sweat every single time I do it because I'm an absolute mess as a human being, but you know, we're working on that. And so what we're going to look for is, once all the flour is incorporated, that's using the last of it there, is we end up with an elastic, springy dough. And you can tell you've got the springy dough when you can form it into a ball. I like to do any minute now, and you give it a bit of a press with your fingers and hopefully it springs back a bit. If we're going to try it now, is it springy? A little bit springy. It's a little bit springy, but I'm thinking to myself, no, I can go a little bit longer. It would probably be absolutely fine at that stage. And I'm just thinking, no, we'll just go. I haven't quite finished my workout yet, so really press it, get the heel of your hand in there, stretch it out. That was about a few minutes later, and I'm thinking, I think that is slightly more springy than it was a minute ago. Oil your bowl, give that dough a bit of a toss around so it's covered. That stops it from drying out and forming a crust. There we go. That has proved. It is the summer at the moment, so that didn't take too long. Otherwise, if it is in the winter and your kitchen's cold, you can find a warm spot. Quite often a preferred method would be the oven when it's turned off, or if you've got a really good controllable oven, and you can set it to sort of about 30 degrees. Do that. But anyway, I'm now happy. My dough is made. It has proved. I've punched it back down again because why not? We're going to form this into 8 individual pieces, even, so it's easy if you've got a ball like that to start off with, because you go in half and then each one of those in half and each one of those in half. You know, anyone that ever did fractions at school, that one's quite easy. So we've got our 8 pieces. We're going to roll these out now into flatbreads, and I am not being fussy at all. I actually really want them to look homemade and rustic. Honest. If you want to spend ages trying to get yours perfectly disc shaped, you carry on. I'm just going to roll them out until they are flat, and obviously have in mind the size of the pan you're going to cook yours in. You need quite a nice heavy skillet type of pan. None of these cheap Argos 1mm thick stainless steel things. That won't be good, it will burn. There we go, one is done. I'm just dusting it with a bit of flour, I'm thinking, because I don't want them sticking together, because I'm going to stack them up. And I'll get on with the next one. Not going to show you me doing all of those, because that would be the dullest video you've ever watched. So just another camera angle there, because that looks really stylish. And we're getting there. I do love making bread. I think it's the most therapeutic job ever in a kitchen. Alright, that pan was very, very hot. I'm going to use a bit of editing here. Basically, you keep them cooking, no oil, by the way, until you see the bubbles start to come up on the surface. The first one never bubbles as much as the last one. I don't know why. Someone will probably explain that to me. Flip it over. But this is quite forgiving. You can flip it over and you think, oh, maybe it wasn't halfway cooked yet. A couple of minutes later, toss it back. In fact, all of these, I flipped them an extra time each side. So that one's nearly ready. What you have to do, and I haven't got two cameras to show you me doing, is I've got a plate ready to the side with a clean tea towel. As soon as each flatbread is done, you put it on the plate and you cover it with the tea towel, and that will keep it nice and soft. It will steam under there. So when they are all done, of course, you can just have them straight away. Tear and share. I like mine with dips, things like that, but you can make fillings for them and wrap them up. Very versatile. But you don't have to have them straight away. What I did with mine as well, I had them a few days later, so I wrapped them very carefully. I put them in the freezer and I found that they defrosted really well. So if you fancy having a go at these, by all means, have a go. Let me know in the comments any questions you have. Please leave them for me there. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next video coming really soon. And also, if you do fancy going over to Cookpad, look me up there. I'll share a link below, and yeah, it'd be nice to see you. And there you go, one more shot of these really lovely flatbreads. Lovely and soft, perfect for dipping and wrapping. Anyway, see you soon. Bye.